Everyone comes to you with their problems. You're the one who holds it together when things fall apart, the one who stays calm in crisis, the one who supports everyone else through their breakdowns. People say, "You're so strong," or "I don't know how you do it," and you smile and handle it because that's what you do. That's who you are. Except lately, you've noticed something. You're exhausted in a way sleep doesn't fix. You feel resentful when people need you, and when you're alone, you feel this overwhelming urge to just collapse. But you can't, because you're the strong one. Some people play this role their entire lives, holding everyone else up until their own foundation crumbles. But others, they recognize the cost before it's too late. They learn that strength isn't the absence of vulnerability. So here's what I want to understand. What happens when you're the strong one for too long, and how do you stop before it destroys you? This is the psychology of compulsive caretaking, and understanding it might save you from a breakdown you didn't see coming. To understand the cost of being the strong one, we need to understand how this role develops. Most people don't choose it consciously. It gets assigned to them, usually early. Maybe you were the oldest child who had to be responsible. Maybe you had a parent who was emotionally unstable and you had to be the stable one. Maybe you learned that being strong was the only way to get approval, so you became the person who doesn't need anything, who can handle everything, who's always fine. Psychologists call this parentification when it happens in childhood. You become the emotional parent to your actual parents or siblings. You manage their feelings. You solve their problems. You suppress your own needs because someone has to be the adult. And here's what's insidious. This role often gets praised. You're so mature for your age. You learn that your value comes from what you do for others, not from who you are. But being strong all the time isn't actually strength. It's armor. It's a defense mechanism that protects you from vulnerability while simultaneously preventing genuine connection. When you're always the helper, always the supporter, you never get to be the one who needs help. You never get to be vulnerable. You never get to fully receive care because you're too busy giving it. And over time, that imbalance destroys you. Think about what happens physiologically when you suppress your own needs constantly. Your nervous system is always activated, always in hypervigilance, scanning for who needs what and how you can fix it. You're never truly at rest because rest would mean not being available. Your body is paying a price for this constant activation. Elevated cortisol, disrupted sleep, weakened immune function. Your body is screaming for rest, but your identity won't allow it. There's also an emotional cost people don't talk about enough. When you're the strong one, you develop what psychologists call compulsive self-reliance. You've learned that needing others is dangerous, that showing weakness leads to abandonment, that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. So you build walls disguised as strength. You handle everything alone. You don't ask for help, and you tell yourself this is independence when it's actually isolation. Here's where things get painful. The people around you often become dependent on your strength. They learn that you'll always handle it, always be there, always have the answer, so they don't develop their own coping skills. And when you finally can't be strong anymore, when you finally break, they don't know what to do. They're shocked. But you never said anything. Because you've trained them to see you as invulnerable, and now you're paying the price for that training. This connects to what's called high-functioning depression. You look fine from the outside. You're productive, capable, managing everything. But inside, you're dying. You feel empty, exhausted, like you're going through the motions without actually living. And because you're still functioning, nobody notices. You're suffering invisibly because being the strong one means suffering silently. Now you might be thinking, but people need me. I can't just stop being strong. And this is the lie the role tells you. That if you stop, everything will fall apart. That your value exists only in your utility. That being vulnerable means being weak. But that's not truth. That's conditioning. And it's killing you slowly. Here's my observation. We live in a culture that glorifies this kind of strength. The person who never breaks down, who never asks for help, who handles everything independently. We call them resilient, admirable, strong. But we don't talk about the cost. We don't see the private moments when they're alone and barely holding on. But let's talk about people who've learned to step down from this role, who've recognized that being strong all the time is actually a form of self-abandonment. They haven't become weak or irresponsible. They've learned something crucial. Real strength includes the capacity for vulnerability. That asking for help isn't weakness. That letting others support you doesn't diminish your worth. The first step is recognizing the role for what it is. You're not naturally stronger than everyone else. You've adapted to circumstances that required you to be strong. And that adaptation served you once, but it's not serving you anymore. You're allowed to acknowledge that. You're allowed to say, this role is crushing me. There's power in what Brené Brown calls vulnerable strength. It's the recognition that being seen in your struggle, admitting you don't have all the answers, asking for support, these aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of courage. Because it takes more strength to be vulnerable than it does to pretend you're fine. The armor you've been wearing isn't protecting you. It's suffocating you. Breaking free from being the strong one requires setting boundaries you've never set before. Saying, I can't take this on right now. Saying, I need support too. Saying, no, I'm not okay. These feel impossible when you've spent years being the person who never needs anything. But they're necessary. If you don't set boundaries, you'll hit a wall where your body sets them for you through illness or breakdown. In a world that rewards compulsive self-reliance and mistakes vulnerability for weakness, learning to step down from being the strong one is revolutionary. It's refusing to sacrifice your well-being for others' comfort. It's recognizing that your value isn't contingent on your utility. So, if you're exhausted from holding everyone else up, if you resent people for needing you, if you've forgotten what it feels like to actually rest, know this. You don't have to keep being the strong one. That role is optional. You can retire from it, not by becoming helpless, but by becoming honest about your limits and your needs. The cost of being the strong one for too long is your authentic self, your capacity for genuine connection, your health. But you can choose differently. That's not weakness, that's wisdom.